All you good folks, how about you nominate the youth sports volunteer that you know for the Hercules Hero of the Week? Submit your nomination at kslsports.com/contest and then listen every Thursday afternoon to the good guys, JJ and Alex, for the winner. Help us celebrate the efforts of those volunteers making an impact with the Hercules Hero of the Week, and it's sponsored by Hercules First Federal Credit Union and Beehive Meals.
DJ PK, and it's time to welcome aboard Frank Dolce, former Ute quarterback. Frank, good morning.
Good morning, guys. Good morning.
Hello again. Hello.
Yes. Great movie.
Good to have you on here. Another segment of As the Utah Quarterback Turns. Another twist.
Yes. What do you mean, the twist that we're now considering an 8th year and a redshirt year?
No. Don't speak it into existence. Frankie D, I am fired up to see Isaac Wilson over these next and probably 7 games. This is a phenomenal opportunity, unlike this program has ever had. You got somebody who's got a little bit of footing underneath them. Now you got an opportunity to develop this kid. There's no longer any confusion. No wait, it's early in the week. Wait till Thursday. Wait till 20 minutes before kickoff. I was there at Oklahoma State, watched the quarterbacks roll out, and you're telling me Isaac Wilson still didn't know he was going to start. Now he knows today, tomorrow, and the rest of the season, barring injury, obviously knock on wood to prevent against that. So you got an opportunity here to set yourself up as a program for the next 2 to 3 years. I'm jacked for it.
Wow. That's as excited as I've heard you ever sound, outside of when you have a nice round of golf. Like, those are the two things where I think that elicits the most excitement.
I played with him yesterday. He played well, and he complained at least every other hole. I mean, there were stretches. I got up on my toes. It went right. I got to stay down.
Oh, you want perfection. What do you want me to do? Accept losing? I'll never accept losing under any circumstance.
You think Tiger Woods is happy when he, hits it 12 feet left of the hole on the green? Like, he's not happy. He wants a 2-foot putt.
Of course.
For birdie.
Yes.
Yeah. And that's why PK excels in life.
You want to get back to the original point?
What did you say, Frank? I didn't hear you there for a second. You broke up.
Get back to the point, Frank. Enough of this nonsense.
Okay. The point is, I believe Utah has a tremendous opportunity as well. I also believe Utah has a tremendous opportunity to flesh out other quarterbacks in the program during this time. And certainly you're going to have a starter and the guy that you prepare every week to play all of the downs. But I feel like Utah has an opportunity to take a closer look at some other guys in the program who may be able to contribute at the quarterback position. So outside of saying the quarterback race is open again, I'll get very close to that line and say the quarterback race should be a little more fluid if this is the case, that Cam Rising is no-go, that Isaac Wilson is QB1, but you have other assets that should be developed.
Last year, they played 2 quarterbacks, and they both ended up transferring, I guess, and neither one of them thought anyone believed in them. Don't you risk that if you try to play 2 quarterbacks here? I mean, in plain English, I think that's what you're suggesting. No. Let's play 2 quarterbacks.
No, I'm not suggesting we play 2 quarterbacks. I'm suggesting that we play 1 quarterback and we give some other quarterbacks opportunities in select football games when the opportunity arises. It's not a 2-quarterback system. It's a 1-quarterback system with the opportunity for other quarterbacks to get to develop their talents in a game situation. It's Chris Leak and Tim Tebow. And that's not a 2-quarterback situation to me. So you have a definite starter, you have a definite guy, and you have an opportunity to develop talent.
Well, I think that backup would be Rose. He's been in the program 3 years, and all he did, I think, against SUU was get in and a couple of handoffs. They didn't even trust him in the bowl game. His father went on social media and wasn't too happy about that. You can look it up. So my thought is that he's probably gone at the end of this season if he wants to play. You never know. Maybe he gets an opportunity and lights it up. Who knows? There's crazy stories. Brandon Dolman sat around for 3.5 years, and gets an opportunity and runs with it that final year and gets drafted by the 49ers, so things can happen. I just think that for here, let Wilson do his thing, and then Andy Ludwig can tailor a game plan completely around this guy. And I'm expecting them. They've got 6 games left. I say that they have got an opportunity to minimally go 3-3, if not 4-2. 5-1 might be a little bit optimistic. 6-0 seems probably unlikely, but if you win 8 ball games this year and go to a bowl with an opportunity to win 9 with a healthy Wilson, I consider that, it's a disappointment relative to Cam Rising, but what happened. And that from that perspective, I would be excited about going to next season.
There's 2 more losses on the schedule. I think that's reasonable to think that.
Right.
If Isaac Wilson is lights out, then you could run the table. I mean, you could. If he's good, there's probably 1 loss on the schedule, and if things go the wrong way, then there's a couple more than that. So, and the one piece I didn't look up, and you guys probably have this already. So, what is Utah turnover margin in the last 2 games?
Bad.
Are they -5? Are they a -5 or a -4?
I don't have it at my fingertips, but the point is it's bad.
Yes, you do.
Yeah,
Eventually I will have it at my fingertips. I don't yet.
It's something like that. And so we have to factor that in. Like, so turnovers, you eliminate the turnovers. What does that mean in those 2 games? Well, I think you could make a reasonable argument that you at least split those games, the last 2 games, and the lack of ability to score inside the 30-yard line, touchdowns inside the 30-yard line. Okay, there's something. How about on the defensive side, the chunk plays? I mean, Scadaboo is phenomenal. I really like him. I think he's phenomenal. But he picked up 97 yards on 2 carries in that game. I mean, they're talking about him going 11 carries, 120 yards in the second half. 97 yards came on 2 carries. So mostly that Utah defense was pretty good. And then they were pretty bad. And so if you eliminate those 2, I would call those mistakes on the defensive side, what are you looking at? And so I think there are a lot of factors that contribute to these 2 losses. And it's not that Utah is a bad football team. It's like they're situationally bad. The turnovers, the lack of holding down the defensive side, giving up the chunk plays, not scoring inside the 30. I mean, those are things I think you can clean up. And if those things occur, then Utah's probably going to find themselves in the mix at the end of the year.
The way I look at this is Tyler Huntley Part 2. He comes in and played 2017, I think it was, and they go 7-6. And I realized he got hurt the next year, but he was there for a good portion, and they're in the title game the next 2 years.
Yeah.
Why can't that be the case going forward? I don't know that it will, but if Wilson does well, and you talk about them, if you can say 5-1, I would take it right now. I would take 5-1 right now, 9 wins. That's a really good season as far as I'm concerned. And you're bringing back a kid who's just a sophomore, might help you get some transfer receivers in there because clearly he was developing something with Singer there. And they might get some guys who can ball and want to be a part of it for the next couple years. Man, this is far from the curtain is down on this program the way I look at it.
I'm cautiously optimistic about this team. One reason I'm optimistic about this team is because Mekhi Bernard was a real bright spot.
Yeah, and get him the ball.
State.
He's been a bright spot the whole season.
Yes, well, I have been, I don't know, skeptical is not the word, but I question the running game of Utah, and I question whether or not Mekhi Bernard is going to be an every down 25, 30 carry a game, 150-plus yards per game kind of back. And I think that's what Utah really needs right now, especially as, you make this transition at the quarterback position and you need some stability. I thought the offensive line looked pretty good. Mekhi Bernard was a bright spot. He was breaking tackles. He was finding the hole. He looked very explosive off the snap. So I think that is, of all the things that have happened, the negative things that have happened for this Utah offense, the emergence of Mekhi Bernard could be exactly what they need at this moment to propel them to 5 more wins on the season. I mean, I agree with you. 5 wins going down the stretch based on all that's happened leading up to this point, I think that would be a commendable football season. Certainly not all of the expectations up front, but, you just didn't account for all of the negative things that have happened either.
Bernard is averaging about 17 carries a game, and he's done very well. He's over 6.5 yards a carry, and definitely passes the eyeball test with the way he runs, right? The combination of power and speed's been impressive. But to your point, Kyle prefers 30 of those tough running plays per game, and there is no RB2. Nobody else is over 4 yards a carry. Everybody is struggling. So yeah, give the ball to Bernard, but they got to find a second running back. And yet, have any idea who that might be? Because so far, it's no one.
No, I don't know who that is going to be. So you're going to have to find rushing yardage in other places. I think you have an opportunity with the tight end group, and Brant Keithy has shown the ability to run the ball. I think you're going to have to look at Money Parks as a ball carrier from his wide receiver slot position. And Isaac Wilson ran the ball very effectively in high school. I think he's super athletic. And as much as you don't want to risk the health of your quarterback, we've seen how that affects Utah offensively. You probably have to find situations where Isaac Wilson is putting some pressure on the defense with his legs. And I think he has that ability. So you're going to have to rely on Mekhi Bernard, probably jack up his carries, 8, 9, 10 per game, and then manufacture rushing yards elsewhere to keep the off balance. And then, of course, throwing the ball, effectively throwing the ball downfield. I don't think you have to throw the ball, over the top necessarily to soften a defense, but you have to be effective throwing the ball downfield. So when Tyler Huntley became really good, I mean, if I remember this correctly, he wasn't throwing the ball for 450 yards per game, or maybe not even 300 yards per game. But maybe he was in the 250 yards per game, but it was super efficient, like 60, 70% passing on the year. And that was very effective, keeping a defense honest and allowing the running game to go. So I would see the offense moving that way a little bit more. Yeah, dominant ground game, offensive line, effective pass game.
Right. I mean, Tyler Huntley's completion percentages, particularly his senior year, my gosh.
Yeah,
it was like Jeff Hornacek. If he missed a shot, I was shocked. If they threw an incomplete pass, it was like I was shocked because, he was so pinpoint accurate here. And I think, speaking of loyalty to the program, which Kyle obviously exhibited with Rising last Friday night, and I think it was to the detriment of winning, but nevertheless, Bernard needs to get that same type of loyalty because he's been in this program for a long time. And you talk about how, and we all probably thought what you just said about, I wasn't sure if he could be, every down back. And he'll tell you, yeah, I've dealt with that my whole life. And he'll tell you point blank right to your face. And so this kid has got an internal motivation to prove the world wrong. And so far, he's been able to do all that stuff here. And so I would ride this kid because at the same time, he knows he's got 6 games, probably 7 left to go, where he's auditioning for the NFL. And if he can finish the second half of the season the way he did the first half, then that's going to increase his chances. And don't look at him and say, oh, he's small. No, don't look at that at all. Look at his production, and that's what matters the most. So they got a real opportunity to ride this kid to some big-time wins here going forward because their schedule looks like, especially in November, will be fairly difficult, and he can shine and then allow Wilson to supplement with the throw game, as Kyle calls it, and away you go. That's why I'm looking at success. I will ask you, Frank, if we said we would take 5-1, right? We both agreed we'll take 5-1. Well, Frankie D, you go way back. Does that 1 include the loss to BYU? Are you taking it then under that circumstance?
I'll go 5-1 in any scenario except that one.
3-3 with a win over BYU. Would you take that?
Yeah. Oh man. No. I mean, BYU looks like the team to beat right now. No question about it. They're playing at a very, very high level. And but you know what? I don't mind if Utah has a little chip on their shoulder this year. I don't mind if Mekhi Bernard has a little chip on his shoulder. I think that's how this Utah team needs to approach the rest of the season. It's the same. I mean, deja vu all over again. Utah is now circling the wagons. Everybody doubts us. I mean, that's when they find themselves at their best.
True.
Like that. That is a speech that Coach Whittingham has right at the top of his list. Like, okay, what is the motivation? Hey, look, we can pull out this circle the wagons again. Like that's the one that's his go-to. So I don't mind Utah being in this situation at all. It seems to work out well for the Utes, but now it's time to perform. Like, okay, Isaac Wilson, true freshman, like, okay, we understand all of that, but now you have a chance to mature, grow up, figure out this game at this level. And I think he's demonstrated at various times the ability to do that. Mekhi Bernard has stepped up, and now maybe with a little, giving him a little bit more opportunity, putting a little bit more on his shoulders, which he's willing to take, that's a guy with a chip on his shoulder. That's going to work out well for Utah. Tightening up a defense that's been like really, really, really good at times, and then just 1 or 2 lapses and enormous plays, overcoming that, scoring in the red zone. It's like we've identified all of the issues, and all of those issues seem to be very correctable for this football team.
In Utah's 3 conference games, 8 turnovers, only 4 takeaways, -4.
In their 3 conference games, they're -4.
Right.
So in the last 2 games, I can't remember what
2-1, 2-1, and 3-1 is how they lost the turnovers battles in those games.
Gotcha. Okay, so. But that's the thing. I mean, turnovers, there's the other issue. Like, turnovers have always been Coach Whittingham's thing. Like, you have to win the turnover margin. And for the year, going into this game, Utah was a -0.2 average. And so now they're going to be even worse than that after this last effort. And that has to flip around. So Utah has to find themselves on the plus side of the turnover margin week by week to give themselves a real shot at winning games.
Frank, we appreciate it as always. Thanks for joining us, and we will talk to you again next week for another segment of As the Quarterback Turns.
Sounds great. You got it. All right, guys.
All right, thanks,
Have
Frank.
a great week.
Frank Dolce, former U quarterback right there. Darius Lassiter, BYU wide receiver, coming up next. And it's a Utah Jazz Ticket Tuesday. We have a pair of tickets to watch the Jazz and the Kings tonight at the Delta Center. We will give them away on the other side of this break. Or you want to do it right now, Yak? Okay, other side of the break. We'll give away the tickets to see the Jazz and the Kings tonight. Stay with us. DJ and PK, it's 97.5 The Zone.